Now we're ready for Chapter 9 Review Part B. And before we move on to this, there are just a couple of things that I wanted to talk to you about with regards to formulas. Now, we talked about this a little bit in Chapter 3, which is over percents. So if you want, you can just go back and refresh on Chapter 3. But our main formula in Chapter 3 was percent equals base times rate. You're going to see that exact same formula again, only we're going to call the percent mark on. We're going to vary the base, and then our rate is going to be called our mark on rate. And when I say we're going to vary our base, it means that in the beginning they're going to tell us whether our base is going to be cost or whether our base is going to be selling price. For instance, in Part B, it tells you complete the following using markup based on cost. So that based on cost told you that in all of those in Part B, our B will be cost. In the next part, it says complete the following using markup based on selling price. So that tells you that your selling price will be your base. So we're going to be using, again, that exact same formula, percent equals base times rate, only we're going to relabel them. And we're going to say that your mark on amount is your percent. Your base they'll tell you which one is base. They'll just come straight out and tell you. And then your mark on rate will be your rate. And so all the same things that we learned in Chapter 3 about percent equals base times rate will still apply in Chapter 9. And some of those things I'll just do a quick reminder are that we don't need all those three different formulas. We just need one, and then we can solve for whichever part uh, is missing. For instance, when we have the formula 3 times 2 equals 6, and we know that to be true, then we can solve for any part of that as long as we're given two of the components. So here I can solve for the missing component by, if it's currently being multiplied, then I'll bring it across and I'll divide. And then same thing here. If this one was missing, it was currently being multiplied. So to bring it across, I will divide. Sorry, this part was being multiplied. You'll always do the opposite. If you're taking it across that equal sign, you'll do the opposite of what it's currently doing. So on all of these, they're currently multiplying. So when we brought it across that equal sign, we did the opposite. The opposite of multiply is divide, which means the opposite of divide is multiply. The opposite of add is subtract, and of course the same way, the opposite of subtract is add. So keeping those just a few small concepts in mind, we're ready to move on to Part B. Okay. On Part B, it tells me, I'm going to write my formula again. My percent equals base times rate. My percent is mark on amount. My base, it tells me, is cost. And my mark on rate is my actual rate that I'm going to be using for here. So now it tells me all I have to do from this point forward is fill in the blanks. It tells me my cost. No, it doesn't tell me my cost. Sorry. Let me erase that. It tells me, where's my, it tells me that my mark on amount is $22.50. My cost, I do not know, so I'll leave it as C. And my mark on rate is 65%. So I'm going to have to solve for my cost. Right now, 65% is currently being multiplied, so to bring it across the equal sign, I will divide. So I will take $22.50 divided by 65%, and that tells me that $14 and hold on, that didn't do that right. $22.50, and it wants me to change this to a decimal first, divided by 0.65. Okay, that's better. And that tells me that $34.62. That's my cost. Now, it also asks for my selling price. Well, we just learned in the previous that if I have my cost and my mark on, I can get my selling price. My cost is $34.62. My mark on amount is $22.50. So that means that if I add 34, 62, and 22.50, it'll give me my selling price of $57.12. You may wonder, why would you need to know your mark on rate, or why are we even dealing with mark on rate? But as you go through and you're pricing things, a lot of times you'll be given the cost and a rate instead of a mark on amount. So just like percents, sometimes you're given a rate of increase, sometimes you're given the actual amount of increase. So those should be interchangeable, and you should be able to use either if they give you a mark on rate or if they give you a mark on amount. You should be able to solve for either of those. Now let's do number 5. We'll just do a few of these, and then that'll leave you some to do on your own. Again, my original formula was percent equals base times rate. My percent is my mark on amount. My base, it told me, is cost, and my rate is my mark on rate. Now I know my cost. My cost is $76. I know my mark on rate. My mark on rate is 35%. That leaves me solving for my mark on amount. All I have to do in this case is 76 times 35%. This calculator wants me to put it in as 76 times 0.35, $26.60 is the actual mark on amount. That also equals the amount of money that I'll earn every time I sell this particular item. Okay? They want to know what the selling price is. Well, the selling price equals my cost plus the actual mark on amount. So my selling price will equal, if my cost is $76 and my mark on amount is $26.60, that puts my selling price at plus 76, $102.60. Okay, that gives you 6, 7, and 8 that you can work on your own to make sure that you understand it. If you don't, be sure to let me know and I'll be glad to go over it with you. On number 6, you should get 140% for your mark on rate, $20.55 for your mark on amount. For number 7, you should get $125.81 for your cost and $69.20 for your markup amount. And then number 8, you should get $2.76 for your markup amount and $16.56 for your selling price.